Hello. Welcome to How Marvelous.
I am Max.
And I'm Mikki.
And I'm JR. How goes it?
Better than your week.
Well, you know. As long as you're not wading through oceans of bodily fluids, your week is better going better than mine.
You know, a mountain of bodily fluids. A mountain of fluids. Now that's
Words am hard.
well, yeah, but like, I
That's the
want
thing
to
with
work with this.
Yeah, with a kid, it can be a mountain of bodily fluids, depending on which end it comes out of.
Right.
Let's not get into that. If only for our listeners' sake. All right, so we are doing What If, Volume 1, Number 3. What if the Avengers had never been? Because we are exploring the bold experimental era of What If, where they literally went with the most obvious questions ever.
I feel this early era, they're working through a checklist.
Well, yeah, and
Well, I liked
know.
your take last time too, Mickey, where it was like, these are all the ideas that Stan shot down. Like, I'm finally gonna get to do the ones that Stan told me no, and like, it's both checklist. This is the first one that feels really checklisty, I think, but there are a lot that are like, but I wanted to do it this way, and yeah.
it's
And
really
like it being written by Jim Shooter, I totally believe that. Of just like, Stan wouldn't let me have fun.
yeah. The series is still finding its footing, and it's kind of annoying right now because things are just so, like, this issue we're going to do things this way, and next issue who the fuck knows.
Well, and that's one of the other things I was thinking about was they refuse to stick to some kind of format, right? Where, like, you bookend with the Watcher telling you what happened last time and then moving on, like, but instead, let's do it this way. And they're not doing that now. They're just, like, moving forward, and then the Watcher shows up and he's like, oh, by the way, we're not doing it the normal way, we're doing it the other way, let's go. And then and then we just do it that way, and at the end the Watcher shows up again and is like, oh, yeah, don't worry, everything's fine. And that's about it.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, this issue still has the problem of the Watcher is just drawn like a dude, just some guy.
Yeah.
I especially like this issue. He's just some guy. I especially like how the next issue he's clearly Wilson Fisk in a tunic.
Right. Yeah.
Just I'm so lazy. He's the Kingpin. Piss off.
Yeah.
And like,
So
speaking
anyway,
of lazy and like having no continuity of format, the very first page, and I'm already annoyed because Hulk's speaking in proper sentences and using the correct pronouns, and it's just fuck off.
Well, of course, this was
I'm still the
early
Hulk,
Hulk.
Well,
Back when they hadn't really, I mean, you know, you read the early issues of Hulk and they're literally trying out a different thing every issue. You know, those first 6 or 7 issues of Hulk, it's literally like he only changes at night. No, wait, he only changes when he shoots himself with a machine. Oh, but now when he's the Hulk, Rick can control him. Like, just fucking stop, guys. It's the Hulk. How are you fucking this up?
well, they didn't know what they were doing with the Hulk until, like, the 100s. Like, seriously, they were messing around with what it was that triggered him and what it was that, like, fueled his strength. Like, we were doing that almost up until the Wolverine fight. They were still screwing around with it until he was in Canada. At
that point...
Do what?
What point did the television show come out? Was that like that would be very close? I feel like if that's the case, it was the television show then that cemented a lot of things that we now consider to be primary basic stuff.
100 or 121 was in 73. I want to say
181.
Oh, was that 181? Yeah, you're right. 181 was in like 73 or 4.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but that's a good point.
Like, the Hulk kind of went through a period of time where it was just like, maybe he's just Bruce but bigger and kind of an asshole. Like, you know. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these early issues, it's the Wild West where the Hulk is concerned. But, so... the version we're kind of used to, as far as the Avengers go, is that first issue, they are duped by Loki into attacking the Hulk, and then they all come together to defeat him. And then at the end of that, they're just like, well, what if we stick together? And then in Avengers number 2, Hulk is just like, yeah, what if you go fuck yourself? And leaves. And he joins up with Namor. They fight the Avengers. It does not go well for them, so on and so forth. But now the Avengers have had their trial by fire and yada, yada, yada. That is not what happens here. In this issue, the Avengers have formed. And then Hulk pulls his I'm out move. And Iron Man's like, we should go after him. It's kind of a big deal. One of our members is leaving, and we've literally been together 5 minutes. And the others are just like, you know what? No, we're not. This is a volunteer organization. He's welcome to leave if he wants. And... yeah.
Like, I love how, Thor, every time Thor's like, so says Thor, and it's just like, yeah, we're right here, man. We're right next to you. I know. You don't have to. Also, I love, there's a tiny detail on page 1. Tony's in his gold armor, and I can't tell if this is like ultra continuity or a failure within this own issue of continuity. Come page 2, he's in Mark II.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that the first time.
Well, actually, I think that's Mark III, because it goes silver, then gold, then red and gold.
Oh, God. I made a mistake.
Yeah, you're fired. But no, yeah, it is odd, and I can't remember whether he actually is even in that armor at that point.
Well, like, I know that he got that armor when he was still in Tales of Suspense. So it's entirely possible that maybe if Jim Shooter's looking at the overall continuity and being like, okay, if this lines up and this lines up, then he should be in this armor. Or maybe they were just like, the gold armor, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame them there.
It's the skirt.
It's a lot of things.
It's a weird design.
Because in Avengers number 2, Avengers number 2, he's still in the gold armor. However, Avengers number 2 is Okay. No, this actually works out because Avengers number 2, he's in the gold armor, and that's when Hulk leaves. Avengers number 3, he's in the red and gold armor, and that's when Hulk and Namor team up.
Okay, so it's super continuity. Okay.
Yeah. It's you gotta go back and actually like thumb through this stuff for it to make sense. But yeah, so in this version, like I said, they decide not to go after the Hulk, and apparently not going after the Hulk means everybody breaks up, which kind of seems like overkill, but whatever. So Thor goes back to Asgard, and Hank and Jan are just like, we're gonna leave so that Hank can work on stuff and we can occasionally have joyless sex. And then...
Yeah, Hank has to go insult Jan some more.
Yeah. God.
He's a prick in this.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Hank Pym is a prick in everything.
Yeah.
But so the end result of all of this is that Iron Man is left alone to try and find the Hulk. He contacts Rick Jones to try and find him, and Rick finds the Hulk immediately, which leads to this knockdown drag-out between Hulk and Iron Man, which really doesn't... I mean, Iron Man is still working out the kinks in these armors, and is very much not ready for a full-blown Hulk fight.
Well, and he would, this is if they wouldn't have been broken up, then Thor would have been there too. This would have been much more manageable. He wouldn't have got his shit wrecked near as hard.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he takes Rick Jones home because that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Yeah. The excitement of bringing Rick Jones back to his apartment. Ooh.
Thrill as Rick tries to find his keys. But yeah, and so Hulk, after that, their little tete-a-tete, goes off and runs into Submariner, and that's when they decide to team up. And in this world, Iron Man goes back to his lab and proceeds to start tinkering, because it's Tony Stark. That's what he does.
I really actually like this. Kinda. Well, no. I like it in a Tony Stark, this is who Tony Stark is kind of idea. Like, even he can't stop working. Like, he can't not be doing something. B, he completely disregards the wishes of the people around him, because the thing that he's tinkering on is building suits for Rick, Hank, and Jan.
Yeah.
Hank, Jan don't need
which
suits.
he does immediately.
And also told
incredible.
him... Wait, what was that?
I said, which he does immediately. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Hank and Jan also told him, nah, we're out. We're gonna go be scientist and scientist floozy. Like, this is what we're gonna go do. That's what Hank's words, not mine. And
Airhead Harris.
And but he builds the suits anyway, and then connives them into getting into it.
Yeah.
Rick is almost immediately on board. He's like, yeah, sure. Fuck yeah, get me a suit. Let's do this. And then the other two are basically like, I really don't... Well, Hank's like, I really don't think this is a good idea. And Jan's like, hooray, suit! And she gets in it and immediately almost kills everyone.
Well, no, at first,
Which-
immediately, she's pissed about the way it makes her look, because, one, it clashes with her makeup, which is just like, bitch, you're in a suit. And two, she complains about the figure, even though it's literally like, it has a cinched waist. It's an Iron Man suit with a cinched waist.
It's
what the
also
fuck?
the kind of waist where, I mean, I know it's superhero comics of any era, but like there's no room to pack a liver and like a lot of intestines in here.
Yeah.
Like
That
there's-
stuff can move around.
Her stomach
Well-
is literally in her throat.
It cannot be overstated how vapid Wasp is at this point. Because like later on she takes on a lot of very admirable traits, but right now she is like empty-headed would be a step up. She's just like, okay, sure, like she's the worst. And like, you know,
Well, it's a contest on this page, especially where they're putting on the suits. Who's the biggest dumbass? Is it Janet Van Dyne for literally everything, or is it Rick Jones for thinking he has to flap his goddamn arms to fly? Who's the bigger dumbass?
man, that's a tough one.
And I just looked it up, and this was published in June of 77. So it actually means that they're doing a fairly decent job doing Jan of 1964?
Yeah.
Like, writing
Yeah.
her the way Jan of 1964 is, instead of the way she would have been at that point. Which,
Right.
not a lot of Jan in 1975, mid-70s in general, but, like, she's a much more rounded character by then.
Well,
Okay, she is a rounded character by then.
she's a character by then. We'll
She's
say
a-
that.
She's a character now.
She is. That's a tough one, because even in the 70s, Jan is still not great, but she's not nearly as bad as she was when the Avengers started. When the Avengers started, it was, I honestly, like, it is amazing to me in the early issues of the Avengers that Jan can dress herself.
Seriously. She spends
yeah.
3 pages flying around ass first. Ass
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fucking awful. And, but so, yeah. So, Jan and Hank piss off. And Rick is just like, maybe this isn't,
Well,
maybe this isn't the best idea.
they piss off because Tony's like, you fucking idiots, do you realize that you need to, like, care and practice and pay attention? Everybody's just fucking around. And he's like, Rick's like, hey man, like, just, we're trying. And he's like, shut up!
Yeah.
And
But-
Jan and Hank are just like, yeah, dude, you ain't gonna yell at me like that, bye. And Rick's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So the upshot of all of this is Tony is alone. And so he's like, well, he tells Rick that he's like, maybe I'll seek out the help of the Fantastic Four. But of course he's a lying piece of shit, because he immediately goes over and starts supercharging his armor, overclocks it to the point that he's just like, I feel more powerful than I've ever been.
I have become
And-
death.
Yeah, and he
This is a high I'll never match again!
And so he takes off to go and find Hulk and Submariner. Rick is like... Rick realizes that Tony was lying. And what he specifically says is like, you know, he runs after Hank and Jan, and they're like, what's the issue? And Rick's like, well, I've been thinking about what Iron Man said about getting help somewhere else. You've known him longer than I have, but it doesn't seem to me that passing the buck is his style, man. And so that's when they realize that Tony's going to do something stupid. At which point we cut to Tony doing something stupid. And so yeah, he goes and he fights Hulk and Namor, who honestly would be one-on-one, would be a fight for anyone. I mean, like, if it were Hulk and Submariner versus blank, there are not many people you could slot in there that would come out ahead, especially since they're right near it. They're on an island, and so Submariner is in his element. But so Iron Man manages to take out the Hulk for a minute, and then focuses on Namor, who promptly gets him into the ocean and proceeds to fuck him up. And Iron Man is laying there. I mean, his helmet is smashed, and he is in bad shape. And it's at this point that Rick, Hank, and Jan show up in their armors. And so we've got a full-fledged brouhaha. The big turning point comes when you have Hulk fighting Jan and Hank, and Rick fighting Submariner. And two things happen in fairly quick succession. One is that the Hulk lays out Hank Pym. And then Submariner starts laying into Rick. And so Tony crawls over and uses the power of his suit to jumpstart Hank's, which allows him to get back up and keep fighting the Hulk. And then Hulk realizes that Rick is in the armor that Submariner is beating the ever-loving shit out of. And so that causes him to turn against Namor. And that's the ultimate ending of this battle is Hulk and Namor wind up in the water and just kind of leave it at a draw. The Avengers are like, hooray, we won. Hey, Tony, because it's at this point they realize...
I don't even know if Namor knows he's murdered a man.
Yeah, but this is also early Namor, and he probably would not have given two shits. I mean, later... So... It's one of those things that Namor, during these early issues of Avengers, is very monomaniacal. He is focused. He is laser focused on his war against the surface world, and that's it. Later on, he starts to have other concerns, but at this point in time, there is no Atlantis. Like, Atlantis is in ruins. The Atlanteans are scattered and presumed dead. So Namor is just out to fuck up as much as he can. Later on, he mellows, and had something like this happen, then he might be like, oh my god, what have I done? But right now, it's just, he does not give a rat's ass. So yeah.
He really reminds me in this early era. Actually, he reminds me all the time, but the character growth really matches with like Vegeta, where he's just an arrogant son of a bitch. Then he's less of an arrogant son of a bitch, but he's still the most arrogant son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Namor is one of those characters that's had such an odd history. And admittedly, I mean, you know, that's a natural consequence of having been around so long, and without the DC style crises where it's just like, oh no, that's Earth 1 Namor. That's a different character than the Silver Age Namor and blah blah blah. This is all ostensibly a single character, and so yeah, like, he's all over the map. Now admittedly, we did recently just find out that between the Golden Age and the Silver Age he got nuked. So, you know, like, that could explain a few things.
Yeah, that'll put a dent in your personality.
I mean, to be fair, I really can't blame the Americans, I assume, for nuking him, seeing as how he flooded New York City.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
This was so the thing about it is, in the new Marvel Comics Presents that they're doing, he is sent on a mission by the Americans in World War II, and he realizes midway through that it's just to get him out of the way, and so he goes chasing after this plane, and it turns out that it's the plane dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima.
It's the
and so it's yeah, so it's.
I'm sorry. I just find that hilarious. Of like, he pops his head out of water, looks around. There's Wolverine up there. He doesn't know who he is in his POW camp, and then suddenly,
yeah,
two mutants at once.
Got him.
Pretty much. But yeah, so that's like supposed to explain where he was between the end of the Golden Age and his reappearance in Fantastic Four. Was just, he got nuked and kind of lost it for a while.
Right,
and,
he got nuked, lost his like whole personality, and that's why when he shows up in New York, just haggard and covered in like a burlap sack, they're like, oh yeah, it's because he got his brain irradiated. Like,
which does not in any way explain our literal next issue, but we'll get to that in next episode. So, I mean, overall,
like, if we do an around the horn kind of thing, go ahead.
All I was going to say is this issue is kind of a mixed bag. The premise is uninspired, and I mean, is rote as hell, but they do nail the character of Tony Stark. I mean, this is quintessential Tony. If you've got a problem, build a fucking armor.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, for me, it's fine. You know, it kind of chugs a little, but it's fine. And the main problem with this issue for me was actually that all the good questions start at when it ends. Like,
yeah,
what Tony's dead? Oh, shit. Tony's dead then? Oh, shit. That changes a lot. Like, a lot of things are different now. Because in this universe, because Tony's dead.
But on that Earth, they never got the crossing. And for that alone, they are lucky as fuck.
But like,
but you're right. It really does.
Interesting shit. Even like in 77, you could be like, give me another page. You know, cut one of the earlier pages and give me another page that's like, because of Tony's death, here's the way that the business shook out, and Pepper was eaten by a crocodile. Like, whatever. Like, just give me a little bit of that, and that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I'd really like to know if the now armored trio go on to do something like they could have easily have a history of like, okay, here's a little bit of what happened, but then they could be like, and thus the Avengers were born, and it was just these three in armor that they essentially stole.
An Animal House ending at the end of some of these is not unwarranted. Like, well, it's okay.
And that's one thing that later issues do rather well, is that they don't just have the Watcher at the beginning, they have the Watcher at the end to come in and just be like, and so it happened that this is what, you know, and even just the Watcher going, these armored Avengers then went on to have other adventures that I get to witness because it's my curse, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But for you, it's time to go read Tigra or whatever else is on the stands right now. Yeah, like this is one of those times where they really need to have that what's the word I'm looking for? Standardized, so that you could then just be like, and so they broke up, or and so they stayed together. Anyway.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like as you said, it's a very thin story. Really, all that happens is there's one fight, and that one fight is the entire plot. They go and they fight. Ooh, and Tony dies. But I feel like the story's not the point here. Jim Shooter making fun of Stan Lee and Stan Lee's writing style is the point. This is a hilariously bad issue, and I feel like he's doing that intentionally, just being like, hey, remember when comics were this goddamn stupid?
Yeah. I don't know.
I got nothing but agreement with that, because like, comics are stupid a lot. And often, and always have been, but like, is that for sure early Silver Age brand of stupid that this nails, right? Like, this really nails that, like, this is how, guys, I know it was only 14 years ago or whatever, but like, do you remember how dumb comics were 14 years ago? And I'm like, I'm thinking about that now. Like, 14 years ago from here, comics were real fucking dumb, because comics are always dumb. Like,
this is closer in time to the thing it's talking about than we are to the beginning of the Ultimate Marvel Universe.
Yeah. Yes.
Ah!
Pardon me, I need to throw up and never stop.
But the comics had evolved a lot more by 77. Like, they had changed the story telling. The stories were better, I think. And told better. By
trying to think, the Ultimate Universe was what, around 2000?
2001.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Spider-Man #1 was in early 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, like, Spider-Man #1 is great, and it has nothing to do with 9/11. And X-Men, for a while, is great and has nothing to do with 9/11. And then the Ultimates hits, and you go, oh, right.
Yeah.
Even Ultimates. Okay, this is not an Ultimates podcast.
There is no Ultimates podcast.
There probably is. Well,
that's probably as much of a disappointing...
into the podcast wastelands, I guarantee you. You will find white dudes that want to talk about something.
I mean...
Okay, to cover myself on that one, I'd heard, and I don't know, but like, what do you call? Never mind. Sorry.
What do you call a group of white dudes? A podcast?
A podcast,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like a podcast that does like an overview of the Ultimate Marvel Universe from beginning to end, like that could actually, because that was all over the place in really interesting ways. Like, but anyway, that's another conversation. So yeah, so this issue is a resounding, like.
It's like it is not one that I'm going to point people to go read.
Oh, fuck no. Like,
no.
This is, yeah, like, yeah. I mean...
What I really like is the context of this issue, of just how batshit it is in the placement. Because if you go back a few pages, you find Stan's soapbox, and Stan is so goddamn excited to announce that Marvel has their own celebrity magazine now. Read about your favorite celebrities in Marvel. And it died by the end of the year.
Well, I guess the question is Stan actually excited about this? Or is it the Stan is excited in a marketing sense? Like, I like the idea that Stan is actually excited about this. Like
that's rad.
He's like, this is groundbreaking, true believer, and like
I get to meet famous people.
There was not a small amount of P.T. Barnum in Stan Lee. At any point in time.
A small amount? Yeah. Yeah. No. That man was mostly flim-flam, and I love him. Ooh.
That's why, like, Casey and I were talking at one point. I guess I should clarify, since we may have some crossover here. Casey is my wife. Casey and I were talking about, like, if you could hang out with any person, living or dead, and, you know, kind of bypass that awkward, like, yes, there are electric lights, yes, the Nazis lost the war, etc. stuff, and get into actually, like, knowing them, who would you want to hang out with? And my answer was a twofer, and it was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, because I feel like, you know, there would be the Stan Lee flim-flam, and then just Jack Kirby just sitting there going, that's not what fucking happened, shut up, like, why are God, you're the worst. And Stan would just be like, no, like, it was the truth, and like, you know, I was just thinking, and it's like, no you didn't, no you didn't, no you didn't, no, look, let me tell the way it actually happened.
I give that hangout, like, how long? Was there a time limit? Because I'm pretty sure that ends in Jack punching a wall in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I definitely think the truest thing The Simpsons ever did was have comic book guy get annoyed at Stan Lee. He just won't leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, so yeah, the issue itself is yeah. And but I do think it fares better when compared to the issue we'll be doing in our next episode. What if the invaders had stayed together after World War II? So join us next time. In the meantime, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, email us at an email address I don't remember offhand. God, I really need to get my shit together on this. So yeah.